Life at Heartland has always carried a quiet rhythm, horses breathing softly in the cool morning air, the sun stretching over the fields, and footsteps echoing through the old barn. But beneath that peaceful surface, emotions have been building like pressure under the ground. Episode 10 begins with this feeling. Not chaos, not conflict, but a heavy silence that hints at everything the characters have been hiding. The past weeks have already left Amy questioning more than she's willing to admit. She's been strong, calm, and steady for everyone else, yet deep inside, she is holding on to something that keeps pulling her backward. It's that kind of feeling that lingers even when you try to ignore it, a weight that follows you from morning to night, waiting for the right moment to rise again. Lou, on the other hand, carries her own storm quietly. She has always been the one who tries to fix things, to bring order to the messy parts of life at the ranch. But episode 10 shows her reaching a point where even she can't control everything anymore. She's trying to balance the ranch, her role in the family, and the demands that keep pressing against her from all sides. And through it all, she senses something shifting, something in the family, something in herself. It's not spoken aloud, but it lives in the small pauses of her day. The moments she stops to think, the questions she chooses not to answer. Then there's Tim, who has been trying to outrun his past for as long as anyone can remember. But forgiveness has a way of finding the people who least expect it. Episode 10 hints at a moment from his past returning with quiet but sharp force, a reminder of what he's done, what he regrets, and what he's never fully faced. There is an edge to his behavior in this episode, a restlessness he tries to hide. He knows something is coming, and for once, he doesn't know how to control it. But Heartland isn't just about personal battles, it's about how one person's struggle affects everyone else around them. And in this episode, the ranch itself feels heavier, as if it knows the family is standing on the edge of a choice they can't escape. The horses, the routines, the familiar spaces, they all carry an energy that feels different. It's quiet, but not calm. Still, but tense. The kind of stillness that comes right before a heartfelt truth breaks open. Episode 10 begins by placing every character in this emotional space between what they wish could remain buried and what life is finally pushing them to face. Forgiveness doesn't simply appear, it grows, slowly, painfully, through everything unsaid. And as the episode unfolds, it becomes clear that this is the moment Heartland has been building toward, a moment when the past demands to be acknowledged, and healing must start whether they're ready for it or not. Something begins to shift as episode 10 moves deeper into the story. And it's not loud or dramatic. It's quiet, almost whisper-like, but it changes everything. Amy starts to feel this shift first. She goes through her day, as she always does, feeding horses, checking on routines, moving through familiar spaces, yet nothing feels quite the same. It's as if the ranch is reminding her of a memory she isn't ready to revisit. She tries to focus on the present, but every small moment keeps leading her back to something she hasn't forgiven, not in others, and not in herself. This is the heart of her struggle in this episode. She has healed horses, she has helped people find their strength again, but now she must face her own pain, and that kind of healing never comes easy. Around her, everyone senses something unsettled, even if they don't say it aloud. Lou notices it in the way Amy pauses during conversations, how her eyes drift toward places they used to avoid. Lou wants to step in and help, but she's fighting her own emotional battle. A recent decision weighs on her heavily, and no matter how much she tries to stay steady, she feels cracks forming beneath her calm exterior. She starts to question whether she has been holding too tightly to her role as the strong one, the problem solver, the person who everyone expects to have the answers. Lou realizes that trying to hold herself together may be stopping her from facing the truth she's been avoiding. And in episode 10, that truth inches closer, refusing to stay in the shadows. Tim, however, feels the past not as a whisper but as a punch to the chest. There's something he has carried for years, a regret that shaped the man he became. It returns in this episode, not to punish him, but to challenge him. For someone like Tim, forgiveness is not something he asks for easily. He fights it, resists it, tries to outrun it. But episode 10 places him in a moment where running is no longer possible. He must look directly at what he did and what it has cost. It's not a dramatic confrontation. It's an internal one, and that makes it even harder. Tim's struggle in this episode shows that forgiveness is not weakness, it's a test of how honest a person can be with himself. But while the characters wrestle with their private storms, the ranch itself seems to respond. Heartland has always been more than a place, it's a living memory, a keeper of stories, a silent witness to everything the family has endured. In episode 10, the quiet spaces feel different. The barn feels heavier, the fields seem deeper, the air feels dense with unspoken truths. It's as if the land knows the family is standing at an emotional crossroads. The ranch doesn't judge them, it simply holds their history, waiting for them to face it. This is where the theme of forgiveness begins to take shape, not in one big moment, but in many small ones. A glance held too long, a word left unfinished, a memory that returns at the wrong time. Each character begins to realize that forgiveness is not about letting someone else off the hook. It's about freeing themselves from a weight they can no longer carry. Episode 10 carefully builds these emotional details, slowly tightening the connection between the past and the present. What makes this part of the story so powerful is that nothing has been resolved yet. The tension sits quietly, like a storm forming far off in the distance. The audience can feel it coming, and the characters can feel it too. They don't know when the moment will arrive, or what shape it will take, but they know something inside them is changing. Forgiveness is approaching, not gently, but with the force of truth that has been waiting too long to be spoken. And as the episode moves forward, the air grows thicker with the sense that someone, maybe more than one person, will be pushed to finally confront what they have tried to hide. The path toward forgiveness has begun, and there's no turning back now. There comes a point in every story when silence can no longer hold the truth. And in episode 10, that moment creeps into the lives of the Heartland family like a slow, steady wind. It doesn't arrive with shouting or sudden conflict. Instead, it slips into the little moments, an unexpected pause in a conversation, a memory resurfacing at the wrong time, a feeling that something inside is finally ready to break open. This slow unraveling is what makes this part of the episode so powerful. Each character begins to face the very thing they've been avoiding, and the emotional weight becomes too strong to keep hidden. For Amy, the shift becomes impossible to ignore. She has always carried her strength quietly, grounded in her bond with horses and the legacy left by those she has loved and lost. But this episode tests that strength in a new way. There's a memory she has pushed deep inside, something that shaped her more than she has ever admitted. As episode 10 unfolds, that memory begins to surface again, not to hurt her, but to remind her that forgiveness isn't a choice she gives to someone else. It's something she must allow herself to feel. She tries to distract herself with work, with familiar routines, with the steady comfort of the ranch. But nothing quiets the voice inside her anymore. The past isn't haunting her to cause pain. It's returning because she's finally strong enough to face it. Lou finds herself in a similar place, but her unraveling looks different. For her, the tension doesn't come from one specific moment. It comes from everything she has been holding together for too long. She has been the planner, the fixer, the emotional anchor for the family. But episode 10 exposes the toll that role has taken on her heart. She starts to question whether she has been running from her own truth under the excuse of protecting others. There is a moment, small, quiet, but heavy, where Lou realizes she has been carrying guilt she never acknowledged out loud. And now, she must decide whether to keep pretending or finally let herself feel the weight of it. Forgiveness, for Lou, means facing the fear that she might not be as strong as she pretends. It means admitting that she needs healing too. Tim's unraveling is sharper, clearer, and far more direct. A reminder from his past returns with painful clarity, forcing him to confront the mistakes he buried beneath years of stubbornness and pride. For a long time, Tim believed that moving forward meant ignoring what he couldn't change. But episode 10 turns that belief upside down. The memories come back not as accusations, but as reflections of who he once was and who he is still trying to become. This is the part of the episode where Tim's vulnerability shines through. Even if he tries to hide it, he starts to understand that forgiveness won't erase what happened, but it might finally free him from the grip of regret. And this realization begins to crack open a part of him he has kept locked for years. What makes this section of the episode so gripping is how the characters' individual struggles begin to blend into something larger. The family can feel the tension building, even without speaking it aloud. Small gestures reveal the emotional distance between them, a hand pulled back too quickly, a conversation cut short, a look exchanged that holds more meaning than words. The ranch seems to sense the shift as well. Heartland has always reflected the emotional state of the family, and in episode 10, the air feels heavier, as if the land itself is waiting for the truth to finally rise. The unraveling doesn't bring solutions yet. It doesn't bring forgiveness either, but it brings honesty. It brings the first cracking of the walls each character has built around themselves, and that crack is enough to let the light in. The audience can feel something powerful, approaching a moment when everything hidden will be forced into the open. Episode 10 prepares the ground for this moment, slowly, carefully, guiding each character toward a confrontation they cannot run from, This section is about the breaking point before the breakthrough, the silence right before someone speaks the words they've held inside for far too long. And as the episode moves forward, the sense grows stronger. Forgiveness is coming, and it will change everything. There is a certain kind of stillness that arrives right before a turning point. And episode 10 leans into that stillness with quiet strength. It's not the dramatic kind that comes with shouting or sudden decisions. Instead, it's the kind that settles in the heart when someone finally stops running from the truth. As this part of the story unfolds, each character reaches a moment where they must face what forgiveness truly means, not as an idea, but as a choice they can no longer avoid. And this is where the emotional weight of the episode hits the hardest. The walls that held back the past begin to crumble, and the characters discover that letting go is not the same as forgetting. It is simply choosing to move forward with honesty. Amy is the first to feel this shift. She doesn't have a sudden moment of clarity. Instead, she moves through her day and feels something inside her soften. The memories that once hurt now feel like pieces of a story she has outgrown. She realizes that holding on to pain won't protect her, it will only keep her from healing. And for the first time, she allows herself to breathe without the weight of regret pressing against her chest. This part of the episode doesn't show her fixing everything at once. It shows her doing something braver, accepting that she is human, that she has been hurt, and that forgiveness is not a sign of weakness but of strength. Amy's change is gentle but powerful, the kind of change that comes when a person chooses to stop fighting themselves. Lou's moment arrives in a different way. She has spent so much time trying to appear strong that she forgot strength is not about pretending nothing bothers you. It's about admitting what does. As episode 10 moves forward, Lou finally lets herself feel the guilt she has been carrying. She stops pushing it away. She stops telling herself she has everything under control. And in doing so, she discovers something she didn't expect. She is tired, but she is not broken. She begins to see forgiveness as a chance to let go of the pressure she has placed on herself for years. In this quiet shift, Lou opens the door to healing, not just for others, but for her own heart. The moment isn't loud or dramatic, but it is honest. And honesty is what she needed all along. Tim's journey toward forgiveness is the most challenging, but also the most transformative. For years, he convinced himself that facing the past would make him weak. But episode 10 pushes him to realize the opposite. Avoiding the truth has made him carry a burden heavier than he ever admitted. And when he finally allows himself to confront what he did, the anger he held onto begins to fade. What remains is a man who is flawed, who has made mistakes, but who is truly trying to be better. For the first time, he understands that forgiveness does not erase the past, but it allows him to stop being controlled by it. This newfound awareness breaks something open inside him, something he kept locked away for far too long. As each character reaches their moment, the ranch mirrors this quiet transformation. The air feels lighter, the tension eases, and the stillness that once felt heavy now feels hopeful. Heartland has always been a place where healing begins, even when it comes slowly. In episode 10, the ranch becomes a space where forgiveness can breathe. The past is still there, but it no longer holds the same power. Now, it feels like a reminder of how far they've come and how much they still have to face together. The episode does not end with a perfect resolution. There are still words that need to be spoken, emotions that need time to settle, and relationships that must continue to rebuild. But something important has changed. The characters are no longer trapped by what hurt them. They are finally moving towards something better. Forgiveness doesn't arrive as a single moment. It arrives as a feeling, a soft, steady warmth that grows with every step they take. And when the episode closes, the audience is left with a sense of calm. Not because everything is fixed, but because the characters have taken the first honest step toward healing. Episode 10 reminds us that forgiveness is not about changing the past. It's about choosing not to let the past control the future. And for the Heartland family, that choice becomes the beginning of a new chapter.